all our teachers. Today is a Teachers' Day, and all of us are bound together by this VNIT heritage. A lot of good and great teachers that were there in our lives at VNIT who have made us what we are today. So I wanted to, start off this series by just saying a sincere thank you to all our teachers. And so how exactly all these things came together. So I recently started up. So Gayatri, who's my partner and wife, she started up a company, and I joined her very recently, and I posted that on LinkedIn. And one of my friends, my juniors from VNIT days, Konark, he reached out to me, and we exchanged phone numbers. We started talking on WhatsApp, and he said that, it would have been great to have been in touch all along, but somehow we lost touch for a while. And he said that, is there any startup community for VNITians that I was aware of? So I said, I wasn't. So I said, like, why don't we start something? So it was sometime around, I think, 22nd of August or 23rd of August. I don't remember the exact date. We said, okay, let's start up a WhatsApp group. So I added some of my friends, Konark added something, and honestly, I did not even know who Lochan was, whether he existed, nothing whatsoever. But, we had around 30 people, and then I started thinking, what can we do to ensure that this WhatsApp group was something which was valuable to everyone beyond, good morning, good afternoon, I won this award, and we did these kinds of things. So one idea that occurred to me was that we could have a dialogue with one of the entrepreneurs. So as an entrepreneur, there are so many things that we have on our minds. There are so many questions. There's so much guidance. There are so many loopholes that we have to, not loopholes actually, I would say potholes that we have to navigate through. So, and some of the people who have been there, who have done that, if they share their experiences, that would really help. So from that perspective, I thought that, it would be good to have a story interview kind of a session wherein we can ask honest questions to everyone and share our knowledge. And I floated a message on the WhatsApp group, and Lochan was pretty enthusiastic, and he said he would not mind to be the first one. And here we are today. So welcome, Lochan. I would just introduce you a little bit, whatever I know about you and your business, but then, I would hand this over to you. Sure. So people who are there, I think we will have a quick 30-minute kind of a discussion, 30 to 40-minute kind of discussion. And then we will want to have a Q&A. Because I think the biggest value that we can get is by asking questions. Otherwise, it's just going to be a monologue. And also, we don't want this to be a boring tick mark kind of a thing. If you find this useless, feel free to tell us on WhatsApp. Send it directly, Karthik, this is useless, waste of time, and we would try to make it better. So with that kind of a context, welcome Lochan. Lochan is a 2014 civil graduate from VNIT. He does not come from a business background, as in his father worked for some organization, and he does not have a established family business that he joined. And so he's actually a startup kind of a person. And he runs this interesting company called as Tilecart.com, which is an omni-channel tile business. So the way I know about it is, it's like Flipkart. I can go to Tilecart website, and if I want to remodel my bathroom, I can choose some tiles and I would get those delivered. That's what I know about his business. But why don't Lochan, you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business and your entrepreneurship journey.
Sure. Thank you so much, Karthik, for that wonderful introduction. And I think this idea itself is so exciting to be able to share what I have learned as an entrepreneur and to learn from everybody here. I think it is such a powerful community, and networking is at the heart of everything for any entrepreneur, so to say. So yeah, it's a great occasion that I have got this Teachers' Day to be expressing what I've got to learn. And I think we can quickly take it up from there. So am I audible completely for everyone?
Yes. Yeah, I think, I'll ask some other one. So Kamlesh, can you just let us know by, thumbs up if, Samir is saying yes. Okay, I think you are audible.
Great. Fantastic. So I think at the very beginning, I'm going to keep it very simple, I'm going to talk from bottom of my heart as to what the journey really was, what I thought it would be like, and what it actually is. So it is 180 degrees apart. It is totally different as to what we think it will be like. And when you come on ground, I mean, it's an ocean of obstacles which you really cut through, but it is fun. It is enthralling. So like Paulo Coelho once said that if you think that adventures are dangerous, try routine. Try routine. It is lethal. So I think that's what it is really about. So I really want to quickly address what Tilecart is doing. So like you were saying, Tilecart is a omni-channel business model, which is into retail of all sort of home decor products. So tiles is one of the major commodity which we have been dealing with and have been successfully working with it now pan India and even exporting. So that is the area in which we have been working right now. To talk about where it all really comes from, I want to put up a very simple pun on a lighter note. So there were these three people, an American, an Englishman, and an Indian. They were at the restaurant having the dinner. And this American guy, he suddenly stands up and he says that the buildings in our country, they're so tall that if you go at the top of the terrace and throw a watch from there, by the time it comes down, the date on the watch would have been changed. And suddenly the Englishman stood up and he says that this is nothing. ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है. If you really, come to the top of the terrace in England and throw a baby from there, by the time it reaches the ground, it would have turned into an old man. Then the Indian, he stands up and he says the buildings in India, they are so tall that if you throw a monkey from there, by the time it reaches the ground, it would have turned into a human being. So on a very lighter note, all what I'm trying to say is that we as Indians, we have amazing amounts of imagination as to where we can reach. And at a very early age, I think I had got an exposure and had got an opportunity to meet so many big people and the kind of vision which they had, that I think I got that daring to be able to dream a little big. And I knew it from day one that I had to be an entrepreneur, and that is what really kicked me.
Hey, Lochan, so that thanks a lot for that interesting anecdote. Just one thing, if you could speak out a little loudly, some of the people are saying that maybe, yeah. So if you could please, if you have a mic, that would help perhaps. Otherwise,
Yeah, I will
uh,
use the mic.
yes. And so thank you so much for that feedback. If the voice is low. So Lochan, I think when you start up, I think is that a mindset that you have in mind? Because so I'll tell you from my experience. When I was in college, I wanted a job, a nice job, and high paying job security and all those things. And
Correct.
for me, the entrepreneurship journey started when I did MBA and I came out and I realized that maybe this is I wanted, and it took me a long. I mean, it's been 15 years since I graduated, and finally I had the courage to take the plunge. But I want to understand from someone like you who took the plunge straight away after college. So what is that mindset? What were the factors that guided you to be an entrepreneur? Did you want it to be that from the beginning, or was there
Right.
something that
Yeah, so
encouraged you?
this was really interesting for me. So it so happened that my parents, I think give complete credit to my parents on that note. They were completely supportive as to whatever you want to go ahead and do, you can really do that. So at that time, homeschooling was not really a concept. Homeschooling was not something which people preferred. But in my case, from standard 5 to standard 7, I think in these 3 years, I actually physically went to school maybe only for 3 months.
Oh,
So rest of the 33 months, what I was really doing was I was going out and meeting all these juggernauts. I would like to quote a quick example about a story of Thermax, which I clearly remember and has got a great, great impact on my little mind at that time. So the MD of Thermax at that time was Anu Aga madam. So we had gone to that company and I saw a photo of Mr. Aga over there. And I asked my dad, I want to meet him. So he said at that time he was actually no more. Anuaga madam had already taken over and she was taking up the reins of the company. So he said that maybe we can try to get her appointment. So when I followed up for 1 month to get her appointment, I got a meeting scheduled after 2 months. And for me as a child, I was the king in my own world. So I thought that, how is that possible? How can she schedule a meeting 2 months later? I don't know what I had for my breakfast. And I don't know which game I'm going to play 2 hours later. And these people are scheduling a meeting. They know what they're going to do 60 days later. That is terrific. I think that left a serious impact on my mind. When I actually went and met her, we received a call from her 5 minutes before the meeting that, are you there on time? Are you reaching? And we were already there in the office. So she gave me a time of about 1 complete hour, which was scheduled for 45 minutes. And getting to talk to Meher Padamji her daughter and Anu Aga herself for some time. I think these are the little moments in those 3 years of that time which created that impact.
So that this is interesting. I wanted to understand. So why did you homeschool? I mean, why and how did it occur to you that you have to go and meet Anu Aga, and you tried for about a month? And I mean, there are so many entrepreneurs here in Nagpur. I've not tried to meet any one of them for like even like a week. I have not followed up. I mean, I've not even
Right.
sent a message to some of the founders who I know
Right.
for this today's interview.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I just wanted to understand.
So on that note, yeah, like I said, so my dad really had a completely different view. He believed that the four walls were not going to be enough. The whole world outside is going to be completely different than the theories which you're going to learn on paper. So he said that, okay, let's try this. So for initial 1 month, he took the permission from the school. And later on, I was totally game with what was happening. So I went to my principal myself and I said that, okay, I'm going to give my exams on time. I think I'm going to get decent grades. I was doing 80 plus in all my exams. I directly went to the exam and appeared. And rest of the time I was doing this. But at the end of every month, I made it a point to submit a report to the school authorities that, okay, this is what I've been doing. And then we used to talk about it later. So I think even the school was really, promoting that sort of thing. So these were the little things which created impact. So straight away, let me fast forward to the college time. So in my college, I clearly knew that I do not have to take up any campus placement. So I think in my batch, there were a couple of 2 or 3 people more who were really taking it up. And I was the one who decided that no, campus placements had not to be taken. So I straight away went ahead and I decided that I have to go ahead with my startup. So roughly in my final year, we had an idea as to what we wanted to do. And I was started working on it in my 4th year particularly. So rather than going for any sort of campus placement, I thought, let me straight away work on what my idea is. And I think it kicked off really well from that particular point in time.
Okay, so you got this tile idea while you were there in the college in the final year. I mean, see, I remember my project, you know, my perhaps my teacher was more serious about the project than I was. And I feel ashamed of it, you know, I have no shame in doing this. Yeah, actually, you know, I wasted a seat. Maybe if we do something good for the society, that would be a good thing. But yeah, VNIT metallurgy, I hardly knew anything about it. Even today, I don't know. But how did you guys, so you did a project and that's how the idea occurred to you? I wanted to know that story.
Yeah, so in my final year, we really did some research on an adhesive, which was about replaceable tiles. So the idea was very simple. I thought there are a lot of cafe coffee days and there are a lot of venues and a lot of outlets which basically change their store maybe 3 or 5 years. So we change all the interior, but when it comes to tiling, I think there's a lot of wastage. So we thought that why can we not put a branding on the tiles as well? So customized sort of tiles should be there in place and we should be able to remove them easily and put it somewhere else. So I think that was a very nice option, which was eco-friendly and very useful. So we did some research. We filed a patent for that legitimate one with proper research and all. And that adhesive is what we finally designed and installation system. So that was pretty exciting for me. I thought, okay, this was my big $1 billion business, and this is the idea which I want to work on. So I was all excited about it. That okay, this is what I want to do. So I called up my friend from school, who is my business partner now, Mr. Vivek Agarwal. So I said that this is the idea, and this is what we want to work on. So even he was pretty excited about it. We did a small installation in our college itself near the Nescafe, which is there next to the auditorium now. So we did a mock installation at that particular place. And I told my friends that, okay, this is my new concept and this is my new idea. And I just want to see that for how many days do these tiles, really live up to the normal traffic, which is over there. So some of my dear friends, they made sure that they did not stay there for too long. So they would maybe use their vehicles on that particular area or something of that sort. And that particular experiment did good. Later on, I got an opportunity to work with our very own alumni, Ashok Agarwal sir. So he's a big construction juggernaut today and is a very respected person, an amazing person.
Yes,
so he gave me an opportunity to do some installation at his own office there in Nagpur, the corporate office which was being built. And I said, okay, that is a great idea. So the first and biggest, I would say, a mistake which we did. So today I really want to talk about what should not be done as well.
Exactly. We want to know
So
about the
a lot of
mistakes.
things which go wrong was very early on. I thought that this was the idea, and I invested about 3.5 lakh rupees in that particular mold. So there's a mold in which that plastic is being manufactured. So I came back, spoke to a friend, and we invested 3.5 lakh rupees. The total investment which my mom dad had given me at that time was around that amount. So that was all what I took from them, and later on everything I did it on my own self. So I took that, I invested the complete amount in the mold. We got it all manufactured. We got it to Nagpur, and we did the complete installation in my final year itself. So that looked okay till that point of time. And that installation happened properly, and we got a decent review and everything looked in place. So I was further excited that, okay, let me go back to Pune, and after my final exams, let me pitch to some of the best builders in Pune. So I think Kolte Patil is one of the very big names in Pune, which a lot of people might know. So I straight away approached them, and I approached Kalpak Homes. So these two builders I approached, and I said that this
So
is the
you approached them just like that? I mean, how did you approach them? So, because a lot of us do not have patents written,
Right.
So what really helped? So you told them that, sir, I'm Lochan from VNIT. I have a patent. I have this machine, and I'll change the way you work. Or how do you pitch to these people?
Yeah, so I think cold calling or public speaking was something which I was very comfortable with. Very early on, I was doing a lot of that. So I think that was ice breaking was not really a problem at that point of time.
Right.
So I just had that thing, and I had printed my visiting card in Standard 5, and it was clearly mentioned on it to become an engineer and to develop a business to generate employment for at least 500 people. So that was the mission which I had put down on my visiting card in Standard 5. So it was point blank clear that, okay, yehi karna hai boss, and this is how I want to go up with it. So I was, okay, very clear that this is the idea which I have. I have to run a business around it. So let me get an appointment, let me talk to people, and let me pitch my idea. So I straight away called them up. I called the HR guy. He took me to the R&D person. I spoke to the head of R&D over there, and they arranged a meeting of 25 people from Kolte Patil who are looking after the technical department in their particular company. So we got our first opportunity to pitch in front of them as to what the idea of replaceable tiles was. So they accepted our whole concept, our proposal, and they gave us a small project as well. So we did that project, which was on the 20th floor of that building, which did not have a lift. So there was a lot of trouble in getting that done. So, but it went through, it did go through well. And I got my first check, which was of about 35,000 rupees at that time. And he asked me, what is the name that you want to put on the check? So we did not really have any account, really. And I just had the name of my company because it was replaceable tiles. We had put a very bizarre sounding name, which was Rep Tiles. We were replacing tiles. So
good one, Rep
I
Tiles.
just went ahead and I did that. And I said, this is the name on the check. So he literally wrote us a check by that name. Now, ideally in India, the validity of that check is 90 days. So maybe on the 80th day, we went to the bank saying that, okay, we want to encash this check. So they made an account by that name, and then I encashed that first amount in my account. So in those first 2-3 months, I really pitched this idea, and it was entertained at the beginning because we were so aggressive about our pitch that no, this is what we want to do, that they really took it up. But later on,
go ahead, please.
I'll just complete this one line. Later on, it turned that the cost of installation of that particular tile was double that of the actual price of the tile. And hello, we were in India and we had to be very price conscious about it. So it was not really possible that people would just take this idea up because price is a very, very important factor.
Yes.
And I think that is where we started receiving that resistance that no big projects were coming in. What was the market size? We had not, really studied it well. And we were just all in diving deep down both our legs. And that is where that resistance came in, and it kicked off that, okay, really that sort of market research is important. There is something called as minimum viable product.
Yes.
You could always prototype it. You could always 3D print it. And you could really try it enough. And once you're really very sure, then go for your first big investment, so to say. So I think that was one big learning at that point.
So a couple of questions on this. So for one thing is like, do you think the passion with which you pitch, the passion with which you talk has some kind of a bearing on how people pursue you? Do you think because you are like so clear in your vision that you wanted to get this done, because of that people, because I'm telling you, a lot of final year grads, people who have degrees also with good, decent percentages, first class, even toppers, they don't seem to have that confidence. I for one had no confidence. I got a job with HSBC. I loved it and all, but I really did not understand what had I done to deserve that money that I used to get.
Correct.
Maybe it was just like because the college stamp was there and all, and it took me a while to realize. So given that kind of a context, I wanted to understand what do you think works, if you call up someone suddenly, someone who you don't know, you just call up, and what ensures that this person really responds to you the way you wanted or him or her to respond.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in the first 5 seconds, you see a person talking, you've made your decision.
Okay.
That is point blank clear. I think there's a complete book about that, which says that any decision which you make, you've already done it in 3 to 5 seconds, and the story later on just is a follow up to that. So
Yeah.
that is something which is, I think, the bottom of any conversation or any marketing or closing any sale. I think we were point blank so sure about what we wanted to do that, okay, boss, I have entered inside this room and this is what I'm here to do and this is what I'm going to walk out with out of this room. So that was so point blank clear. That really does change the whole matter as to how seriously people take you. So I think that was an important asset, that people really took us seriously and we were genuine about it and everything was there in place. So on that note, I think all those things were really working. These things were really happening in terms of the people buying our idea, right? And later on, it so happened that we got an offer. We got an opportunity to meet the owner of Panchsheel Group, Mr. Chodia, on account of this idea itself. And even at that point of time, he listened to the whole concept and he was impressed about it. And he said, "This concept is not meant for India. Let's go to Dubai." So he was very clear about it that, okay, let me take you there. I have a lot of contacts and I'm really excited about this thing and this will work over there. It's sort of already happening in some parts and your cost is much better. So we can disrupt the market over there. But somehow that did not give me a great vibe as to going down to Dubai and really taking it up and following it. So I just, sort of did not follow up with that particular offer. And I said that, no, it is not really sounding great to me. So I had to stay back and something was still not right. So I think here I want to really put it out that pivoting in any business is going to be mandatory. How much ever perfect I think you have planned, how much ever your Excel sheets are right, how much your projections are great, I think everyone and anyone in some format or the other has pivoted because you really need to sell what the client wants and not sell what you want to sell. I think that is the bottom line of any great product. So having learned that from the people, simultaneously at this point, I think we really pivoted. So let me quickly shift on to that real part where Tilecut actually
Yes.
started happening.
Yes.
So in this time when we were totally lost, it was almost 2 years out of my college. All my friends were getting great paychecks. They were doing really fine. And that is the moment जब आपके लिए सबसे कठिन क्षण होता है कि you really don't know what to do. You do not have any money in your pocket. All this time you have been a great student. People have been looking up to you, and now suddenly you are lost. You do not know what is to be done, and all the money is gone. So how do you really cope up with that?
Yeah.
So in this time, in these first 2 years, I think after first year or a half, we were simultaneously contemplating. Flipkart was doing great at that point in time. Amazon India was coming in. A lot of things were happening in the online scenario at that time. So we were somewhere obviously motivated to understand if tile as a commodity, floor or wall tiles, can be really sold online at that point in time. And we understood that there were some companies in the England like Tile Mountain. So we got a lot of one-on-one interaction with Mohammed Iqbal, who's the owner of Tile Mountain. So he was doing a lot of online trading in tile.
So question. So how did you get to know? So you must be very thorough with your research as to what's happening in the world around you. I think a lot of us are just like, focus on what you are doing. So do you suggest that we have to be very thorough with the research? How is one supposed to know about one Mr. Mohammed Iqbal who is in UK, which is not a very famous company also. So how do you get to know about these things?
Right. So one thing I think which I did not do in the early years of my startup was that I was so focused on my business that I somewhere was not really taking up to networking at that point in time. So this is again where I really want to bring about that VNIT Startup Forum or the Startup Talk series. I think one single takeaway from a video or one single contact is going to have a great value. So first year and a half, I was so into my business that I would not even really go out and talk to people much about what I'm trying to do. And as my mind got some space, I think I really started talking to people and getting their reviews as to what is happening. And that really gives you some great connects and great ideas and great inputs. So at that point in time, when we were discussing it with people, there were some people who were reciprocating and saying that, okay, there are some European companies who are doing that. So we Googled, we went ahead and we understood what Tile Mountain was doing, so to say. So we directly messaged on LinkedIn to Mr. Mohammed Iqbal and we told that this is the whole idea. So again, I think that confidence in that message that, okay, we are here to disrupt. That is how my message starts. So anyone is like, either you completely shut the message down that, okay, this is some crazy guy who's trying to do some business in his own way, or he will take you seriously. Okay, let me at least hear him out. So I think he responded saying, okay, tell me, what do you want to do? And I said, okay, let's do a Zoom meeting or let's catch up. And when I told him the idea which we were trying to do in India, he was totally excited. And he also told me that, yes, in Tiles also you can really go online and these are the 10 things which you can do. So with Tilecart, when we decided that okay, we want to go ahead with the online channel, we rented an apartment on the 3rd floor of a Mahada building. Okay. And we said, because it was my uncle's apartment, he said that, okay, you can use it for a while. I said, okay, I will save some rent over here. We can have an office and we'll start working from there. So we did that and we started our so-called online trading from there. So we put up a website. Again, I want to highlight this point. Whenever you're trying to make a website, please do cross-check. Please talk to your friends. Please really understand what you exactly want out of a website. Maybe initially go for a simple WordPress or a very simple website and really understand what you want to do about it. Because we invested again a lot of money with our website and that did not really take off as we wanted. It was the second version and that website really helped us. So really we need to save some bucks over there. So with this, yeah, please.
So just one thing for others who are here, one takeaway, if you are running a web business, maybe you can reach out to Lochan. He's part of the group. Just send him a WhatsApp and maybe he will be able to guide you on, the don'ts. Maybe the do's everyone knows, they are written on LinkedIn and all, but what are the don'ts? So yeah, that is one takeaway. Go ahead.
So we were sitting on the 3rd floor of that particular building and we said that, okay, from here we are going to start our great enterprise, and we started business from there. So we got samples from various vendors in Pune, in Mumbai, and surrounding areas. And the funniest thing which we recall today, what we did with those samples was, since that company sitting in England was sending out cutout samples to their customers. You can call them and say that, oh, I like this style, you can send me the sample at my home. So they would send up those cutouts and we thought it will work great in India. So we literally got so many samples and we literally cut down all those samples into smaller sizes and we stocked them. And we thought, okay, now we'll start receiving calls and we'll start sending out samples and we'll start making business. But that is not how it really worked in India, because someone who is there over here, he wanted to see the complete tile. He wanted to see the complete image of that particular design. And then he was comfortable with it. So I think that was again one small blunder which happened, that something which is worked in Europe, something which is worked outside India, it is just so not necessary that it will work in India. Even Ola as a business or a lot of money wallets, they have been there in China, they have been there in US. But I think the way Paytm has implemented it today, or the way so many people are doing it today, are keeping in mind the way Indian people think. So I think we really need to address that thing. Some business which has been successful over there, not necessarily that things will work. So that totally went for a toss. It was not really happening like that. And so when we started interacting with the clients, they would either ask for those samples, so we would send it to them. And in some cases, they would want to visit us. They were insistent that we want to visit you, we want to see it over there. Because tile industry was predominantly a touch and feel industry, which it is even today. So people want to come down, they want to see the whole showroom, they want to feel the product, and then they are going to buy it. So they would come to the building and they would realize, okay, this is a residential complex. They would understand that, okay, this is a particular flat in which this is being done. And when over there, I would tell them that we are sitting on the 3rd floor, there were so many clients who would literally run away out of there and they would just not come up over there because they couldn't imagine that there was a tile showroom seated on the 3rd floor of a residential
Residential
in a flat. So that was bizarre and it was obviously crazy to do that. So at some point in time, when we were doing some decent sales and something was happening, then we realized, okay, this was just not the way to go about it. I think we need to have some basic amount of setup. We need to be on the ground floor, something presentable, and people can come down and, they need that reality check that, okay, people are there and business is happening. So we started with our first office in Baner. So we took up a bungalow on rent, which the rent was around 25,000 at that point in time. So we calculated that this is the sales which is happening and we can afford this. So we went ahead and took that thing on rent. And I think we started our first little showroom over there. And this
So-
is, please.
So just one thing, we are coming at halfway mark, and we've
Yeah.
not talked about that 1 crore investment. So
Exactly.
when through the story, we would want you to also talk about
Correct.
how did you raise that money, because I think a lot of the attendees want to know how to raise money, because that is the problem, the question that is a lot of people are grappling with. So if you
Correct.
could cover that, that would also be good. And by the way,
Wonderful.
your story is really, really impressive, and it is really engaging for me. I'm like completely hooked. So please
Thank you
go
so
ahead.
much. Thank you so much. So I just hope we have some takeaway. I'm just talking from my heart. So coming to that particular point where we were speaking about Tilecart and about the online model, this is the point where we got a great opportunity to come in touch with Mr. Supam Maheshwari, who is the owner of firstcry.com. So he was doing great business. He was based out of Pune, and again we had been trying to connect with him on LinkedIn and via mail for about a couple of months. And one fine day he replied to my mail saying that, okay, let's meet at my office. So the whole intention behind going and meeting him was firstcry.com is a baby care products which they are selling online as well as offline. They have multiple showrooms, over I believe 300 showrooms now, and they have a great website and all of that. So I just thought that I had to meet him. I had to learn a couple of things, and this is the time where were a little lost as to what's next. So we met him. We sat in front of him for half an hour. We told what we were doing. He would not say a word in that half an hour. After we were done, he stood up. There was a complete glass facade behind his office cable. He brisk walked in that room for about 5 minutes. And then he had to tell us that use e-commerce or online just as a vehicle. Don't push it too hard. So that was all what he said on particular e-commerce or the online trading part of it. And he said that try omni-channel. So I think that was something which was again very interesting for us. For example, Lenskart, they are doing a purely omni-channel sort of a model where you can actually go and try lenses and then you can buy it online. So that was an interface, that was the medium. I think that was the right way to do it. And particularly when we were talking about the product like tiles, I mean, at that point in time, then I thought, how did we even have the audacity to go out and directly sell it online? So we had to have a physical interface, and I think online was the way to reach out to maximum number of people. And that is the point when you call it the eureka moment of my business. I was totally gone crazy after meeting him. It was enlightening to me. Those next 7 days, I was seriously contemplating of how the complete business model can change. And I decided that we had to set up a proper smart showroom. At the same point, we were also working on a lot of visualizer softwares. We were working on VR and we were working on AR. We were doing a lot of research on that. So with some of our colleagues and with some company, we started developing a product. So this tile visualizer, we also sold it to a lot of tile retailers in India and abroad. And it was being received very well at that point in time. So we understood that, yeah, VR in tiles is really working. And recently we have also launched an augmented reality module for tiles, which I think not many people in India are doing. So coming back to the funding part, when I understood that omni-channel was the way to go about it, I realized that we had to have a proper physical infrastructure, a setup wherein we can do a smart studio, which is much different than what other people are doing. And I think we changed the buying experience for the consumer. So when he steps inside the store, he gets to see the physical tiles, as well as he gets to exactly visualize then and there as to how his home will look like after the application. So we started using that VR technology in our showroom. So at that point in time, only some companies in New Zealand and in Dubai, they were really doing that. So we even studied their model and the response was great. So then I realized that, okay, this is the showroom which we had to put up. But completely that was a huge cost, which we did not know how to cover it up with. So regarding funding, I think the first thing which I want to talk about is there are two ways to do it. Either you go to a completely other person who is not from your vertical, who is not from your line of business, and you purely talk to him on the ROI basis. And if you have him on board, that is great. But I think someone from your industry who could also have some takeaway. For example, for me, a company who is into selling of tile adhesives big time. So I think if I'm going to them and pitching to invest in my company, I think it's a win-win situation. So I think that is a really great way to go about funding someone who already understands your business. If you're able to connect with him, I think the story is sold. But if someone who's coming from the other industry, he's not very confident about what is happening. So those 7 days, I really contemplated as to what we had to do. I figured out that the showroom had to go in place, and I figured out a couple of investors who could really come on board with this particular idea, who knew how the market worked, who were already there, and who were juggernauts in their own field. I called up Vivek and I said, we are going big. Now, gone are the days. We've had a hard time of our life. And here on, we are doing it great and we are going to nail it. So he said, what happened? I said, I will call you after 2 days. That particular week, I did not even go to office. All the checks I signed from my home. And that particular Saturday, I scheduled an appointment with that particular person. And I had everything prepared in my mind, a minute to minute of that meeting. I just knew what I was going to say. I just knew what I was going to do. And I just knew what I was going to get out of that meeting. Trust me, I was totally sure. So when I walked in that meeting after making these spreadsheets and Excel sheets and projections and whatnot in that particular time, when I entered and for that particular first investor meeting, I sat down on the table and I told that person that I'm going to talk to you for the next 20 minutes and you are going to buy it and I'm going to walk out with a decision taken. That's all what I said. So he was a little embezzled as to what he's trying to say. And I spoke for the next 20 minutes and I'm not even kidding. That person had totally bought the idea that, okay, this is how it is going to work. He was totally amazed with the concept at how it is going to go because it was very pragmatic. I think it was very practical, which I was trying to say. It was very lucid, very straightforward. The ROI was very clear. And that is how it really worked. So in those 20 minutes, we could exactly put down what we wanted to say. And since the whole idea was you don't even know what to do with that money. But here, every single paisa was planned and every single ROI which would come out of it was crystal clear. So, and I told him that on 1st of January 2018, we are going to start our first showroom at Akurdi. And the meeting was happening on 1st of December. So he said 1 month later, we are going to have that showroom in place and it's going to be there and we're going to inaugurate it. And on 1st of January 2018, I was right outside my showroom, actually taking a photo at 6 a.m. in the morning. And that photo is still there on my timeline on Facebook. So I think that was the moment which really meant world to me. It had all the passion which I had for the last 25 years. I think it all summed up in that first round of investment. So it did for me. Luckily, it happened in that very first interaction because when you are very clear as to what you want to do with that money and if it is completely safe, I think it is going to be an easy feat relatively to be able to do that. So that was the first tranche of it on that part.
Okay, so amazing. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions on focus. How important is it to focus in terms of, when you are a startup, I'm sure you must have thought of multiple avenues. Should we do this? Should we do that? You have like 10, 15 different ideas and, there is money involved in some of them. So what do you feel? How did you focus or what do you do to keep focused on something? And, once you are very sure, when do you know, when to stop and how long to pursue something? How do you decide that? And it's something which is, I think everyone of us has questions about.
Correct. So I think stopping reptiles had become very obvious. There was there was no taker. I mean, anything that makes money is great, and anything that doesn't make money is not great. So for me, if someone says that I want to be an entrepreneur and I'm not interested in money, I think he's faking. I think you're here for money. I think it's really about that. That is how I take it. There's obviously a lot of social enterprise that is happening, which I equally respect. But I think that is the whole game which we're trying to play, and it does revolve around money. So yeah, learning to know when to stop and what is not working for you. I think that really does revolve around data. And I want to quickly give it up on that one thing that in this first year of Tilecart as well, our data was just not in place. The showroom was working, the estimates were happening and a lot of things were happening. But which client came, what happened with that particular client, how did the story for that particular client go? That was just not being accounted for. So to address, I think that question which you're trying to ask, when to stop and when to pursue that idea or not. If you really have your data from day one, like in a retail space, that was the point in time when I was also contemplating to start my second showroom, and then it was going to get a little more complicated. So I want to give it up about Zoho, a particular ERP which I used. So I think, guys, I really felt bad when I understood how Zoho works. It is basically a cloud computing sort of an ERP. So it has a customer relationship management software inside it. It has an accounting software inside it. It has a socializing software inside it. So it's a package of 48 apps which is built inside this cloud ERP by the name of Zoho. And I am totally a fan. I've been using it for last 2 years. And I felt so bad that maybe one of my electives was about Zoho in college. I mean, trust me, give me that electives and there are going to be crazy number of startups. See, as newbies, there are so many things which we have to handle. So in this VNIT forum, or so many of our alumni, they are already big shots. They've already done great amount of work. So at that point, it's easier. You can hire, you have money, you can do a lot of things. But from day one, if you are using something like Zoho, I think it is going to save you insane amounts of time and insane amounts of money. Today, for every single client sitting on my mobile from my home, I exactly know what is happening in my office. A single person who is going out to find out more leads from the market, wherever he goes, he has to pin his location. I exactly know for how much time he was there at that location and where did that lead end. So right from that tracking, I think systems are really crazy. I'm really passionate about systems because if you're going back to your office and doing the same work daily, you're not even working. I mean, what are you really working for? So if you are not improvising, if there aren't SOPs in place, if there aren't systems in place, I think you're just not doing what you're here to do. So slowly we built a lot of systems. Logistics was a very big challenge in a heavy industry like tiles. There are a lot of breakages, there are a lot of other issues in a commodity like ours. But managing multiple showroom model and the whole processing to happen, I think these sort of ERP tools really came in handy for us. And everything is happening in an automated manner now. So there's a proper digitization of what we are trying to do. So I think data really helps you to understand where to stop and where not to stop. A lot of business expenses that we did, a lot of HR that we employed, some really good people. But if they are going to cost you a lot and not give that sort of output, then it's not going to work. So everything has to show down in numbers. So sit back every weekend, every month, and do take a review as to where your balance sheet is going, where the numbers are going, and connect every single expense to revenue. If it is not adding to your revenue and profit, I think again, it is a very bad situation, which could really take your business down. So,
okay. Yeah, so that is amazing. So at this point, I think we have 15-20 more minutes to go. So I would want to open it up for anyone who has questions. Otherwise, I have
really compressed on times. Yeah, so there's a lot of
so I have 10 more questions up my sleeves. But if there is anyone who wants to ask questions, because we don't want this to be like a dialogue. Otherwise, we would have had a one-on-one Zoom and recorded and shared the link. So that is. Is there anyone who has a question quickly? We are all entrepreneurs here. So
yes, I am Dilip Deshpande.
Hi.
Hi, Lochan. I visited the showroom a few days back.
Okay.
And it's a good coincidence that after visiting, I am able to attend the lecture and the story. And the story is really fascinating.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your blessings.
I have been in various types of businesses for the last 30 years.
Right.
But the new generation, you are of the age of my son.
Right.
it feels too good.
Thank you so much.
Listen from the your mouth that how the business should be done, how the entrepreneur should think, and money is not bad.
Right.
And the SOPs and the ERP software, etc. I feel you are on the right track. Teams and best of luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
being a lot of good inputs to the persons, all the persons who are listening.
Right.
And I feel that not only they will use it in their life, and I'm sure that they will buy the products from you also.
That is what it is going to be all about.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your blessings.
Hey Lochan, this is Kamlesh. I have another question for you.
Yeah,
so can you please talk about your future plans and fundraising, expansions, those kind of things?
So thank you for your question, Kamleji. So I think we are looking at developing around 150 stores pan India in the next 5 years. So that is an audacious target which we have kept for ourselves, that we really want to go and pan out in that regard. So all these stores will be really on maybe partnership basis. So that is one target which we have to reach out to the nooks and corners of India at least. And yeah, the next round which we are planning is going to be for around $3 million is what we are targeting. That if we want to pick up money, we want to pick up some handsome money to expand. Otherwise, the business is doing some decent and humble profits to keep us running at the moment. So we are working with that vision, Kamleji, to be able to expand these studios pan India.
Great. Another question is on hiring side. So all of us as entrepreneurs struggle with one thing, that is hiring good people and making sure that our vision or our idea of running the business gets translated into people who are working with us, and they also follow with the same passion, things like that. So how do you have any comments on hiring?
Yeah, I actually have a very interesting and a very simple thing which dawned upon me. So it was really that until and unless the need for that particular person is saturated, until and unless that person is totally done, that okay, I cannot take any load further, I think only that is a great time to add another person. So in our case, what we really did at one point in time of our business was that we were trying to make a business model and say that, okay, we need a city head. Okay, we need a marketing head. Okay, we need these guys. So we interviewed them. We had some money in our hand at that point of time. So we got all these people on board. So it was obviously burning us a lot of money. But in terms of output, it wasn't exactly contributing as much. So I think that was one point where some money sort of drained for us. So until unless there is saturation for one person, do not go ahead for the next. I think business will really tell you if you require any more expenditure to be done. So every single expense, I think the business is going to come back and tell you that, no, I cannot take more. Please give me some more assets to work with. So let the business do the talking and then only do that expenditure. I think that is what my learning is completely.
All right, great. I have more, but Karthik, I'll leave others to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we have ample time. So, and I have ample questions as well. So if there is no one else, then Kamlesh and I, we can ask. Yeah, there is another one. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi guys, this is Meg. Karthik, am I audible?
Yes. You're
perfect. So Lochar and Karthik, brilliant stuff. I think so far you guys have been able to make me stay away from all my snacking. So good conversation. So I'm a 93 ENP, and only thing common between me and Lochan is both of us wanted to be an entrepreneur at that stage in life, but I was discouraged, so I stopped after launching my greeting card store in a Temptation hotel near Somalwar School. But that was the time when I used to make handmade greeting cards. But anyways, I think one thing common between me and Karthik is we became entrepreneurs by choice after investing about 22 years in the corporate world. So I run a employee experience management firm and training firm, but opportunities to ask questions to let me stop telling more about me. My question is, Lochan, brilliant stuff so far. Tell us something about, in the prevailing situation of COVID and stuff, the amount of AI has not helped us predict this, but how are you coping up with the prevailing situation? Are you anticipating some things? Has anything changed in your business model or anything you want to share your experience would be great.
I love that question. Thank you so much for that question. Coming from my industry, I think the ceramic industry, which my business is revolving around right now. So there are tons of conventional players and there is a very less activity happening purely online. So I think we were at the edge of our seats to know that people are not going to be able to come down to showrooms. So I was like, yeah, now they cannot go to other showrooms as well. So they have to come to my website and they have to see something. So I think we were excited about it and we did a lot of work. We did a lot of YouTube videos and some good content which talked about a lot of things. So a lot of architects and professionals and design professionals were interested around it. So this is the very time where we also worked on our AR. So what our AR is really doing is that if you walk real time with our mobile application inside your home, and if you have selected a particular tile and let's say a wall or a floor, and if you just move your like phone or whatever device on that wall or that area, you can visualize how that particular tile will look like in that area. So this was interesting for a lot of people because they are able to do it real time. They are able to do it with any of the tile on our portal, and they are able to do it inside their property. So that thing really kicked off in this particular area. So that was one development which we wanted to do for a lot of time, but this was a great time. So like they say, when there are some odds, there are some benefits. So I think this was one major benefit for us. And secondly, the other benefit which I would like to address is that in this particular duration, our industry is again dominated by Chinese manufacturing. So the major manufacturer and exporter is China. And I think that sentiment, anti-Chinese sentiment somehow is really still into the play. I thought it will not matter at all because only money counts. So agar sasta mil raha hai to acha bik raha hai. So I think only that is how it will work. But still date, our Indian manufacturers and we are totally happy that the Indian exports are consistently rising. A lot of new players are wanting to purchase material from India just because they don't want to buy it from India, from China. So I think that market sentiment has really worked for us, and we've also got some additional sort of momentum in the market really going around that particular thing. So this was the second thing which is benefiting India right now. And only one quick third point I want to mention over here is that we started operating on the stock model, as in the online inventory sort of a model. So in this duration, a lot of exporters were not able to export. A lot of material was not being sold. So obviously a lot of dead stock was being compiled in all the factories. So what we were quick to do, I think very at the beginning of the lockdown is where we started collecting this data as to who is having what sort of stocks. And we integrated it online as to what is the dead stock available with them. And we put it across with our architects and interior designers. And trust me, it really worked well. So we got some really good response on that, and we could really clock some handsome sales without showroom really working. So that was the advantage we got out of this particular lockdown. And even now, a lot of architects and designers are wanting to look forward to Tilecart if there is any stock clearance, major project orders, 10,000, 50,000 square feet in stock clearance. So they are getting benefit of that rate. We are getting that revenue. So I think we've added one more revenue channel in this particular duration. And I think it will continue here on. So it is good news for us.
Awesome, Lochan.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you so much for your question.
So Lochan, is there any other question? Because I have one important question. So Anil is there. So Anil,
we have Anil. Hi, Anil. Hi. I'm already a fan of yours, by the way. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So I joined late. I don't know whether you pointed this out or not. I wanted to understand the ticket size of your customers, right? And are these customers mostly individual house owners, or who are these people?
Yeah, these are individual house owners, Anil. Generally, we are not very fancy about selling it to projects or builders because we don't get great money over there. So we are sure about the money with the individual house owners. And the ticket size is around 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees. So that's quite a handsome ticket size. So any single sale which we have to do. And that's the major resistance why it cannot purely happen online. We have had enough number of instances where they have totally gone ahead and booked that order purely online. But I think omni-channel is important for my business because the ticket size is big.
Yeah, so I think omni-channel makes sense, right?
Yeah. It has to be there. So that is how we are really working about it. So thanks for your question.
Yeah. So Lochan, I wanted to cover one point. This entire segment and the WhatsApp group also has to give back something to maybe the VNIT fraternity. I don't know how many current students have joined. I sent out this to a lot of my contacts, which are very limited in the current final year batch. But what will be your message to the current crop of VNIT students who are there and who are contemplating becoming entrepreneurs? Right now, the way if I know these kids properly, their thought process is they will do their graduation from a VNIT, then they'll do their masters, then they'll work somewhere else, and then they would want to join startup on their own. Having gone that route, and having seen you, maybe the grass is always greener on the other side. But I just wanted to understand from you, what are the pros and cons? So I can tell about the approach, of course, once you've worked with multiple other companies, you know a lot of best practices and all those kinds of things.
Right.
But there is also this thought, Shubhasya Shighram. So what are your views on this?
Exactly. So early bird always hatches the bird. So I would really go out and say one most important thing over here. Go out and read Eric Rice's book, which is Lean Startup. So any and everyone who is looking at starting up, sooner the better. And it is the best thing to be an entrepreneur, to work on your startup, to be passionate about it. Nothing can get better, because the good side is that there is no upper cap. There's no upper cap on the things that you can achieve and the money that you can earn and anything that you can do. If it is a social impact you want to create, everything is great. But I think talking about what not to do, it is really important that if you think that an expense has to be done, really think 10 times about it if it really needs to be done. So starting up today is also an absolutely great idea. There are 1,000 other avenues which have opened up post-COVID, so to say, which people can really bank upon. I think Swiggy is one of the business which is on boom right now. So they have empaneled so many more hotels and so many more other players. And I think they have maybe doubled up their revenues in this particular time, whereas others are racking their brains over how to survive. So starting up at any point of time is a completely great idea, but anyone and everyone who is trying to really go about it, rethink about what you're trying to work on, if it is really required by the market, and if it is very simple to sell. So all of those things, I think, make a great business. It need not necessarily be a rocket science. Elon Musk is already doing his job, but I think having the basic simple things in place is going to give us a great business, some unique selling points. And I think you really have it all. So that is how it can happen. And I think at really loving your product. So there's a story of this diamond merchant in the US. So once the owner of this company, a very famous diamond company from the US, so he asked his country head, he gave him one of the most precious diamonds, and he said that go out and sell it this diamond at this particular price, nothing less than that. But this is one of the best pieces you've got. So he went on with that diamond for a month, and somehow he could not do it, and he came back frustrated, saying that this price is not happening. This is one of the precious diamonds and I'm a great seller, but it's not happening. So he came back to the owner. Owner said, give it to me. I will go out and I'll try to sell it. So he went out, he invested his 2 days in it. He came back with the diamond sold with that particular check in his hand. So this person, his salesman, asks him, sir, what did you do that I did not? So he said, I love my products. And maybe you were just trying to sell them. So being insanely passionate about what you're trying to do, I think that is a game. So it's fun to really be passionate about obviously what you are doing. And the story is sold over there.
Karthik, if you don't mind, don't want
please.
to steal the thunder, because one of the beauty of this session is these are like unplugs, where no question is a silly question. And
absolutely.
Lochin did give a very good example of this particular sales guy. So like all HR guys are known for loving the philosophical stuff and giving gyan and all that. But I'm not a great fan of that. And like he said, no, do what you love, and that's how the guy could sell the diamond. But Lochin, tell us, have you, I mean, God has his own way of teasing you. For last, you passed out in 2014 out of VNIT. What has been one of those distractions in your life which prompted you or would have distracted you, saying, hey, I think it's better to jump to the corporate world and maybe do the everything as per the script that Karthik talked about, which is, do something in corporate and then go back to startup and stuff like that. Any distractions you have faced, and how did you encounter that?
I think I was trying to woo a girl, and her paycheck was insane, sir. So I mean, I was like, I'm not even making any money over here. And look all what my friends are doing out there. So I think the biggest distraction was somewhere, I will say, peer pressure, because that was a lighter note, but everyone around was making great money. And what I was here for, that was not happening. So obviously that was one major distraction, that the business has to start taking in some money. And if that's not happening, your motivation is not really there. So, and also my major motivation was to create a brand more than creating a money. So I'm a great believer that if you are able to create a brand that people believe, I think they're going to come back to you time and again. And with Reptiles, no question of creating a brand because the idea was not taking off. And with Tilecart, initially we have had insane amount of troubles with the heavy commodity sort of product which we are working. But now that we have really regularized a lot of things, I think people are really loving the way in which we are working, and things are getting a lot better in service aspect of the view. So I'm even obsessively centric about customer service, and I think now that is what my brand is slowly trying to learn the curve and walk on it. So yeah, like I said, creating a brand is something that is motivating me again right now. But yeah, the major distraction has been not making money.
A follow-up question of 10 seconds. So Lochan, is it true? Because I heard you say that, the earlier you start, the better it is. Because is it true? I mean, without putting words in your mouth, is it true that once you do not have a plan B, it is good? Plan A will actually fetch you a success, because a lot of people like me, and I don't want to include Karthik deliberately, that we are in the boat where we always kept experimenting. चलो ये नहीं हुआ तो ये कर लेंगे, या अभी नौकरी बाद में देखेंगे, पहले बिजनेस देखते हैं, या फिर बिजनेस करते करते नौकरी भी ढूंढेंगे, वो अच्छा मिल गया तो वहां पे चले जाएंगे. And that's why in this plan B and C, none of the plans are working. And maybe like you mentioned, because of starting early, you have no plan B's and C, there is no scope. So either plan A succeeds, or you have to start making a plan B once this fails.
Trust me. That is what has worked for me. I never looked at it in that manner, but when I started off, I had no second thoughts. I was just clear that, boss, this is what is exciting me. At the end of it, I knew I was not a job person. I knew I will not be only able to take orders and do what is being told to do. And yeah, and see, even when I look at a job, there is a lot of intrapreneurship which is happening today.
Yeah.
So many people are really exploring so many things at their job. So that's a great thing to do. But I was very clear that this is how I want to go. And really not having a plan B and plan C was my motivation that, boss, there is no going back. अब तेरे को कोई जॉब भी नहीं देने वाला है. You've already taken all your decisions. And all of that could have happened. But I think that never occurred to me. What if it does not work? Because that was never ever the way out. So that really helps you. I think Boris Becker is a great tennis player. So I would just like to mention that for 2 seconds. He was asked once in his interview that when a ball is heading at you and you are on that tennis court, and this service is being made in your direction at a speed of 100 miles per hour or more. And what is it that you think at that point of second? And how do you work at that point? So he said that if I feel that I will not be able to return the ball, I will not be able to. But if I believe that the only way to go ahead was to give it back, I think you're there. So I think that is what differentiates Boris Becker from other players. That is what he said at that point of time. So that was a big learner for me, that there hasn't to be a second option. That is how I like to work always in any of my decisions. If it has to be it has to be it. I have never been confused. If I decided I want to do it, so how much ever I would have to slog around it. So,
Bravo, bro. Good luck.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I might be like a gatekeeper here, but see, as entrepreneurs, we have to be disciplined, and we had to stick to this time. So Lochan, I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Everyone else, I did not know Lochan for more than 1 hour before we started, but now I think the last 1 hour has been really great, Lochan. So I hope that this interview series will go on. We've already lined up our next guest, that is Alden do Rosario. I'm sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong, sir, but he will be talking about how can, from an investor's point of view, he's a serial entrepreneur, and we will have that session sometime next month. But we don't want this dialogue to stop here. If you have any questions, queries, please feel free to send them to me or to the VNIT startup group. We have a lot of internet entrepreneurs, some really savvy marketeers around us. So, we are looking for ideas so that, we can make this group more enriching and more valuable for everyone. And before we stop today, I just want to apologize in case we have made any errors or if there was some technical problems, but we have tried our best. And I want to sincerely thank Lochan. And it would be unfair if we do not mention some of our stalwart seniors who have been there, the Alumni Association, Ashok Agrawala sir, Shashi Chaudhary sir, Kamdar sir. Honestly, we did not invite them so far because, we want this community to become
Exactly.
50 and plus, and then, maybe we'll be happy to have a big, and there are a lot of other big entrepreneurs from VNIT. So without taking a long time, I just want to thank everyone, and let's make VNIT community great. Let's make India great. Let's make the world a great place. And thank you so much for your
Thank you so much.
time and your energy. Thanks a lot, Lochan. You're a rock star.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Please feel free to share feedback. Yeah, I'm getting some good, but let us know how we can improve.
Let us know how we can improve and how great the community can work for each other.
Yes,
it has to ultimately count. It has to be productive.
Ashish sir, we'll just add you. Yeah, we're just adding you straight away. If you could, it would help if you could let us know your branch.
I know Ashish personally, so I think I will hit you up on that.
Sure.
Yeah. He's from Cebu itself.
Okay, then I'll end the meeting. We have a recording. We'll put it on YouTube.
Done. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.